Christina, and I'm a rising junior at Los Gatos High School. So my main project is a hand gesture controlled RC car with a robot arm, and my first milestone is getting a flex sensor to control a servo. So this is a big part of my project because how my car will work is that the hand and the flex sensors inside of it will cause the wheels of the motors and the servo to move. So that's why this is my first milestone. And the first step I had to do in this was to make sure my flex sensors all worked. So I did this by plugging in a multimeter to either end of the flex sensor to see if there was any resistance running through it, and there was, and when I bent it, the resistance changed, and all 4 of my flex sensors worked, which was great. And so the next thing I did was gathered all the stuff that I needed. So I grabbed the breadboard, the flex sensor, the Arduino, the servo, and the 10 kilo ohm resistor, along with a lot of male-to-male wires to connect everything together. So then I set it all up. I started by connecting the ground of the Arduino to the negative line of the breadboard, and then I connected the power, which was the 5 volts, to the positive end of the breadboard to create the circuit. Next, I added in the flex sensor, so I put the flex sensor in, and then in front of the positive line, which is the part with all of the blocks on it, I placed a white wire that connects to the A0 analog output of the Arduino, so the Arduino and my computer know that there is something there to be used. And in front of that is the 10 kilo ohm resistor, which helps to limit the amount of current flowing through to the flex sensor so that it won't break. And then I also added in front of the negative line ground, which is connected to the negative line to complete the circuit. Next, I added in the servo. So the servo has 3 lines: the orange, the red, and the brown. The brown line is for ground, so it's connected to the ground. The red one for power, and the orange one, which is for like the naming of it, is plugged into port 11. So that was the basic setting up, and then it was time to code it. So I looked online for a ton of different options, and the most useful one looked to be the map and constraint functions. So the map function makes it so that the values of the flex sensor correspond to the value of the servo. So when I bend this, so the values of this goes up along with the value of the servo going up. And then the constraint function was used to clip the end, so to speak, so that when this went past the values that I set, this wouldn't start like trying to overturn and break. It just kept it within those value lines. So this project taught me a lot about programming and like how to set this all up, because I hadn't used an Arduino before or really done any of this kind of things before. And then I struggled a lot with the actual setting up of this breadboard because I'd never done it before. And then I also had problems finding the right resistor values, because originally I thought you could only use the brown resistors, but I know you can use both. And then while this is like a small part of the whole project, it's really, really important, and I'm really glad that this was my first milestone. So thank you.